Hi, I'm Lam. Welcome back to Keeping Up with the Queen. Today is all gonna be about the marvelous brand new release from Anastasia Beverly Hills. The new Soft Glam 2 Eyeshadow Palette. Are you ready? Let's go. So the Soft Glam 2 palette is going to drop on October 5th, which is supposed to be a few days after this video is coming up, so right on time. Today we're going to talk all about it and compare it to the Soft Glam palette, which is the original version, which I have and love and can't live without. It has all that you ever need for a warm tone, natural, soft glam look. And they're coming up with a mini version of this, not really, but it's supposed to be the Glam 2. And it has 6 shades from the Soft Glam palette and 2 shades from the Norvina eyeshadow palette. I thought we will read a little bit of information about this new Soft Glam mini palette, and then I will show you some swatches. We'll talk about the formula, and then finally I will tell you who will need the Soft Glam 2 palettes and who will not need the Soft Glam 2 palette, because let's be honest, it's a little bit repetitive. First of all, I'm going to Anastasia Beverly Hills Instagram page, and it says this palette is part of the holiday 2020 launch. Soft Glam 2 is a bite-sized glam. The mini version of our Soft Glam palette features 6 shadows from Soft Glam and 2 shadows from our Norvina palette. The pan size is the same as the full size. The overall palette size is smaller with just 8 eyeshadow for portable glam, and it will be retailing for $29 US. Let me show you some swatches. Compare it. This shade right here is a very light, kind of a satin finish, very brightening shade. Next shade that they're taking from the Soft Glam is Sultry, which is right here. It's a very beautiful shimmery bronze. It does have a pinkish tint to it, but overall it's a bronzy shade and it's very shimmery. Next shade that they're taking from this palette is going to be Orange Soda, which is a very bright orangey. It's almost my skin tone. Next, they're taking the Mulberry. This is a very intense reddish shade. Next shade is Dusty Rose. Last one is Noir. It's a matte black. I don't really use this shade too often because it's very intense. And the other 2 shades are Incense and Dreamer. I did own the Norvina palette and I am familiar with the Incense shade. It is very close to burnt orange. It might be a little bit darker than burnt orange, but not as dark as rustic. So I would say it's a mix between these two, but when you apply that Incense shade on the eye, it looks very close to burnt orange. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch that for you. This is my favorite shade from this whole palette. I really do like it. Once again, it's a little darker than this Orange Soda, but it's a beautiful transition shade. And the last shade is the shade Dreamer from the Norvina palette, but I think it's going to be very close to glistening right here because it's just a champagne, but maybe it's gonna be a little darker. Yeah, I think on the eye it's gonna be very similar. These are all the swatches, and this is what I think the new Soft Glam 2 palette will look like. Keep in mind these 2 shades are also from the Soft Glam, not the exact shade from the Norvina, but they're gonna be very close. When looking at the swatches, you can see it's going to be a very warm palette. It has different direction for transitioning. You have a lighter transition shade a more dusty rose and a traditional, more warm tone, mid-tone, kind of like a beige. And then you also have two options for darkening the look or smoked out the look with the Mulberry for the more reddish option. And then the Noir, of course, is the black. And then you have a few pops of metallics or shimmers. This one is probably going to be the most intense shade in the palette. And the last shade, I guess, from the Norvina palette, the Dreamer shade, is probably going to be the same amount of shine as this shade. Sultry, but my swatch is not, because the glistening shade is a different texture. It's a more shimmery rather than intense metallic. And you have a brightening shade, excellent shade to highlight the brow bone in the corner or just brighten up the look. Let's talk a little bit about the formula. I do think Anastasia Beverly Hills has one of the best eyeshadow formulas for the price that you pay for. The things to note about Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows is that the mattes are very powdery. They tend to be very powdery and they are very pigmented. And the shimmers are varied. They have different textures. For example, like this shade or this shade are going to be more of like a sheen. You can see right here, it's a very minimal sheen. And then something like these three is going to be more intense. But they don't have overly glittery shades like Natasha Denona or Pat McGrath's. The shimmers and metallics from Anastasia Beverly Hills are a little more toned down. So I think soft glam is a very appropriate way to address how Anastasia Beverly Hills shimmers and metallics are on your eyelids. So who is this Mini Glam Palette for? The price is reduced. You have the same amount of products in each pan. You have a more manageable size, a little bit smaller, easy to store, easy to take with you. We just have a lot of transition option, but in the Soft Glam 2 it's more curated, so it's going to create very similar looks. If you don't have the Soft Glam palette and you want to try out Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam Hype, you should get the Soft Glam 2 palette. And if you have this palette already, you do not need the Soft Glam 2 palette, because just trust me, it's gonna be very similar to this palette. If you have the Norvina palette, you can still get that Soft Glam 2 palette because there are only two shades from the Norvina palette. That's all for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you are going to pick up the Soft Glam 2 palette, or do you already own the Soft Glam or the Norvina palette? What do you think of their formula? Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future uploads. Now I will show you how I come up with this look today using this palette. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you in my next video. And remember, don't flop.